Welcome. This is all minus one quick shots. So, folks, today we have stimulus finally. Stimulus. Everyone's been asking for it. Everyone wants it because everyone is in deep dog do because our governments decided that they were going to use a highly survivable virus to lock down and shut everything down and bring along a great reset and use totalitarian dictatorships based in the governorships to essentially destroy your lives and have the greatest transfer of wealth ever in history. Man, that's a mouthful, isn't it? But that's exactly what is happening. Now, I'm generally against stimulus, but I'm about it in this case because they did this to you, and it is technically your money. The problem is that 35% of all money printed since we've gone off the Bretton Woods standard back in the 1970s under Nixon, 35% of all money has been printed this past year. That means hyperinflation is on the way, folks, in the next few years. That means a lot of really, really bad juju. And when you have individuals like John Kerry, who's going to be the Secretary of State under Joe Biden, saying on the World Economic Forum that they are fans, that Joe Biden is all for the Great Reset, you have a problem. When you have a technocracy going on and tech censorship, the likes of which is insane, that can manipulate elections, such as Dr. Robert Epstein suggested in front of the Senate 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, you have a recipe for a populace of sheep. And so why did they give you this little measly $600 per person and another per child if you have them? Well, to keep you from rioting. They know the left's going to riot. The left's going to be crazy no matter what. The people on the right are eventually going to get quite frustrated as they continue to lose their freedoms and as they lose their jobs and get evicted from their homes due to no fault of their own. And folks, if you still believe that this pandemic is serious, I mean, I understand people have died, but I just did or will be doing, you will see, a study on these excess deaths. There is a lot of data to suggest that we're actually on point, on track for what we normally would have. And one of the things that they do with excess deaths is a year or two later, they look at people who probably would have died within that year and they take them off that excess death count. So you're being lied to hardcore. You're being very much manipulated. And you might say, well, Bill, you just don't understand. These are the experts. No, I understand. I know that I'm quite intelligent and that I have a not the highest IQ. I'm no genius, but I have a high enough IQ where I can read data and understand scientific papers and literature, and I can compare it to things in the past and not all of a sudden all this present data that just it comes out of nowhere. But anyways, back to the stimulus thing. So, I mean, is that good for folks? Yes. Where's most of the money going? It's not going into your pocket, though. It's going to corporations that are already doing quite well. George Clooney was calling for a bailout of theaters. Bailout of theaters is essentially a bailout of Hollywood's. George Clooney is a multimillionaire and basically a jerk, in my opinion. Like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing for the folks who are of average income, medium household income, at that 55, 60,000 K a year place? Those families who are basically lower middle class. Those of you who are just straight middle class or upper middle class, you're not going to have a ton to worry about, although you're going to find out real quick that you ignoring these things is going to impact you and your families and your children and eventually your grandchildren as we remold and remake and destroy our Constitution here in the United States. You're not going to like it. And I think you're a bunch of fools for going along with it. And again, I think that the stimulus is important, but it's going to have not a ton of impact for most people, unfortunately. I hate to be so pessimistic as well on my channel, because I really am not generally a pessimistic person, but I believe I'm just being real. And you need to be prepared for the truth and what is coming. So I don't know. I don't have much more to say about it other than we have a huge amount of inflation that's on the way. We have the Biden administration all about Charles Schwab's Great Reset, which is basically some sort of new world order communist utopia again. Like that hasn't been tried to be implemented time and time again. We have China being perfectly fine, having no lockdowns at all. Their economy's growing and they're building their infrastructure. Here in the United States, we're fighting over election results and having courts just basically outright dismiss edicts that were not constitutionally passed within the election, as well as governors dismissing the courts when they're saying that your edicts are not constitutional and you can't lock people down or shut down these businesses. We're in a mess here in the United States, folks. We're in a big old mess. And so that sweet, sweet $600 that probably won't even pay your rent is meant to appease you. And that's all it's about. It's a great book if you want to read about welfare called Regulating the Poor, by the way. And it basically goes through the history of welfare. And, the idea is cakes and circuses, folks. Cakes and circuses. Keep the people occupied and happy, and they won't realize what the authorities are actually doing. So that's about it. With all that said, folks, this has been all minus one quick shots, and I wish you all well.